Parak Mem Zayin. So this parak is going to be a continuation of the story of the Chet HaEgel, of the golden calf that the Jews made by Mount Sinai. But then the Iker part, the main part of the parak, is really going to be discussing the story of the Jews sinning with the Moabite and Midianite women and worshipping Baal Pa'ar, the Moabite and Midianite Avodah Zarah. So it is going to be an interesting way that the Medrash segues from the Chet HaEgel to the story of B'nai Midian and B'nai Moav.
Even though it was 40 years later?
Yeah. Also, another thing that we're going to focus on tonight is the parallelisms between the Chet HaEgel and the Chet of Adam Rishon by the Eitz Hadas. Because tonight is Erev Shabbos, Parshas Bereshis. So we're going to see a few different points that there's similarities or different questions you can ask of similarities and different ideas that you see a convergence of the two stories in certain ways. Says the Medrash, Rabbi Elazar ben Aruch Omer. Rabbi Elazar ben Aruch says, Kishiyar the Kodesh Baruch Hu litin Torah Yisrael, when Hashem descended to give His Torah to the Jews, Yardu imay shishim ribay shel malachei hasharis. That came down with Hashem 600,000 ministering angels. They came down with Hashem when He wanted to give the Torah to Bnei Yisrael. Keneged shishim riboy shel gibarei Yisrael. These 600,000 ministering angels correspond. What? Correspond to the 600,000 Gibarei Yisrael, meaning the Jewish men from the ages of 20 and 60. Those are called Gibarim, because they're of military age. Okay, so what do these angels do? Uviadam Zenais Vatares. The angels had in their hands Zenais, or Pashas means weapons, and Atares, crowns. What are the weapons for? So the Marzuz says that the weapons are to fight the Yetzer Hara, to fight evil forces, the Mazikin, etc. So the angels are going to give Bnei Yisrael weapons in order to fight those forces. I don't know exactly what this means, if it's physical weapons or some sort of spiritual weapons, or was it a sword, was it a knife, was it a gun, I don't know what it was.
I heard Zion is
a spear.
Hayom is a cherev, no?
Zion means a sword?
Zion. There's a little handle on one end, and then it along goes down. It's like a cherev.
Could be. I understand that it means a weapon in general. I don't know exactly which weapon and what exactly it means.
Klei Zion.
Klei Zion means a weapon, right? So what did these angels do? They crowned the Jews with a crown that has the Shema Mefarish, that has the ineffable name of Hashem on the crowns. So they gave the crowns to the Jews. Chazal tell us, in Shabbos, Taf Peches, says that when Klal Yisrael said Nasa v'nishma, that we will do what Hashem says, that we will listen to what Hashem says, because they said both expressions, they were merited to get 2 crowns, one for Nasa, one for Nishma. So the angels came and gave each person 2 crowns, one for Nasa, one for Nishma. Fine. Says the Medrash, Kol Oisan Hayomim, all those days, actually also hamaisa, until they didn't do the deed, meaning, let's say, from when they accepted the Torah by Shavuos until they worshipped the golden calf by Yud Zayin Tammuz, those 40 days when Moshe Rabbeinu was up in Shemayim for the first time, they were better in front of Hashem than the ministering angels. Klal Yisrael was better than ministering angels. We'll have to see in a moment what that means. And the angel of death did not rule over Bnei Yisrael. Like Chazal tell us, Charus ala luchos, that the 10 Commandments were Charus engraved on the luchos. Al tikri Charus, don't read it as Charus engraved, rather Cherus means free. Because when Klal Yisrael got the luchos, they were free from the Malach HaMavis. So they were loy mashal behem Malach HaMavis. V'loy hayu yotzin l'nikveihem kivnei adam, and they didn't have to, you go to the bathroom like normal human beings. There's in the Higr edition from the Ksav Yad, there's a little bit more crude wording over here. It says V'lo hishlichu tzoya kivnei adam. They didn't release excrement like human beings. Here it just says in yotzin l'nikveihem. A little bit more clean expression. So Klal Yisrael was on this level that was better than Malachi Asharis, better than the ministering angels. So what does it mean that they were better than the ministering angels? How could you be better than the ministering angels? The ministering angels are like, there's Hashem, and then there's like right below Hashem in terms of levels of holiness. There's the ministering angels, the Chayes HaKodesh, or Oifanim v'Chayes, and all these angels that are like mamish. They do exactly what Hashem wants. How could Klal Yisrael be better than the ministering angels? Ministering angels is the highest spiritual position that any entity could possibly be underneath Hashem. How could they be better than them? What do you guys say?
I thought we were better than them.
Huh?
I thought we were better than them.
Right? How could the Jews?
Choice.
Oh,
no.
Oh.
I'm saying no. The pastor says we are, not them. You're assuming. You're making it out. You're making the question.
Right.
They're much better, obviously, because they're angels.
Right.
And we all want to be angels, and we dream about angels. But there's a Gemara. I don't remember where.
There's a Gemara Sanhedrin about it also. Who's better, humans or angels? Leomi Israel also speaks about it. And he says basically the answer that you said. When we said Nasa v'Nishma, we did it of our own volition. We decided to say Nasa v'Nishma. So, and that propelled the Jews to a higher spiritual level than the angels because it was coming from themselves. The angels are just forced to do whatever Hashem wants. So yes, they're on a high level because they do exactly what Hashem wants, but they're forced into it. There is no other option for them. But Klal Yisrael is on a higher level because they're doing what Hashem wants, and they're doing it because they want to do it. They're doing it from themselves. They're not doing it because they're forced. Yeah. What does this mean? Oh, so we said that they were free from death, or not free from death. The angel of death didn't rule over them.
Chutz me the last day.
Oh, 1 second. So what does the Medrash say? When the Jews did that deed, meaning they made the golden calf, Hashem got angry at them, and he said to them, I thought that you were going to be in front of me like the ministering angels. Here it says like, not better than, but like ministering angels. It says in the Pasuk, Ani Omarti, I said Elohim atem, you are Elohim. And Elohim in this context doesn't mean gods, but it means powerful entities. And angels are called Elohim, they're called powerful entities. A judge is also called an Elohim, a powerful entity. Elohim doesn't necessarily just mean a god or a Hashem or whatever. It can also mean any powerful entity. So Hashem said, Ani amarti Elohim atem. I said you're going to be powerful entities, you're going to be like angels. Uvnei Elyon kulchem, and you're going to be like sons of the upper realms, all of you. V'achshav, and now ochin kadam temusun. However, you're going to die like Adam, like a regular people. Right? That is a pasuk that we say in the Shir Shel Yom on Tuesday, last pasuk in the Shir Shel. Ani amarti Elohim atem, uvnei Elyon kulchem, ochin kadam temusun, ucha'achad asarim tipalu, etc. Right? The end of the parak. Beis in Tehillim. Hashem said we're going to be like angels, free from death, it seems to be saying. Free from death, but now that you sinned, ka'adam temusun. It's an interesting thing, you can read it like this. Achen ka'adam temusun doesn't mean now you're going to die like all other people. Say achen ka'adam temusun, now like Adam Harishon you're going to die. Achin ke'adam, like Adam, as a proper noun, ke'adam, like Adam, temusun, you will die. Right? The Klal Yisrael is going to die in the same way that Adam Rishon is going to die. There's a lot of parallels, as I mentioned earlier, that there's a lot of parallels between the Egel Zahav, the sin of the golden calf, and the sin of the Eitz Hadas. The first parallel is in the beginning, the first beginning of how the sin started. By the Eitz Hadas, it says, how did the sin start? The woman saw that the tree is good to eat, and it's enticing, and she wanted to eat from it. Vatera, she saw it. Right? And what does it say by the Egel Zav? The nation saw that Moshe Rabbeinu delayed in coming. So again, the sin of the Egel Zav also begins with seeing something. The Chazal tell us that the means don't go after your eyes, because the eyes are called the sirsur lavera. They're the middleman towards doing sin. Because what happens is, what says that ayin roya v'lev chaymed. The eye sees something that it wants to do a sin with, and then the heart desires the sin. So the sin starts with the eyes. The eyes see something that it wants to do, and then it goes and it makes a desire and it wants to do it. So you see that by the chet of Adam Rishon, you see that also by the Egel Azav.
The Egel Zahav was they didn't see anything, that's the point.
It wasn't a physical seeing. It wasn't a physical, it was an understanding.
So
It started.
I mean, what's it called? Chava also, it says she saw that it's good to eat. How do you see that it's good to eat? What does that mean? You saw that it's good to eat.
There was after Nachas told her that she don't.
I can see one of these fake, pomegranates hanging in the sukkah. Looks like it's really from plastic. It looks like looks like it's something good to eat, but it's not really a pomegranate b'chal. Seeing is nothing. Smelling it, maybe that's something. Tasting it, but how do you know that by seeing something that it's good to eat? You don't really. You see it and it makes a desire. It doesn't really tell you that it's good to eat. No? That's what
Rashi that says, what you said.
That it wasn't a real seeing.
Yeah, Rashi that says that she understood and then Chas v'Shalom she could get to the level of Hashem.
Right. But the shayla is like this. We assume that the way we understand it is before Klal Yisrael sinned with the Egel Azav, there was no death, right? And after they sinned, there is death, right? So there's a lot of different questions you could ask about this. One question, we'll throw out a question like this. We saw in Parak Memhei that the women and the Levites didn't sin with the golden calf, right? So then why do women and Levites die? They should live forever because the only reason why people die is because of the sin of the golden calf. So why do women die? They didn't do the golden calf. Why do Levium die? They didn't do the golden calf. What are you guys saying?
I have an answer, but you could say it's a work.
Yeah, I know.
Tafkir as a lady is in order to be Ezer connected. That's what you see in the pasuk. So if there's no connected, he doesn't have a tafkid. And Levim is a shoy Sam Yisrael.
And
It says in the pasuk, the shoy Sam Yisrael.
Mishar say, I hear. It's an interesting idea.
So it says like Moshe Rabbeinu here. Hashem wanted to return the whole world to Toiv away because of Bnei Yisrael. Say, okay, wipe off Bnei Yisrael, let the other nations live. But without Bnei Yisrael, you don't have to have the other nations.
You're saying good tarets. Saying like Viswar, just if the woman is supposed to work for her husband and the husband doesn't exist, the husband gets misa, so the woman also. And if Levium is supposed to work for Klal Yisrael has misa, so. I mean, basically the truths are on some similar lines.
It's a similar thing also. I don't know where
you judge the whole nation as a whole. The nation as a whole did a sin, so they get judged on as one big unit. Even if there were technically individuals within that unit that didn't do the sin, but the whole collective responsibility. What do you want to say?
No, I mean, similar thing. I don't remember what the makar for this is that all the hardships anybody has to go through nowadays also comes from v'yom pakti ufakadati aleichem.
That's a pasuk, and Chazal say en lecha perennials that come to the world except for it has partially to do with Egel Azav.
Levium women, right? So also
what? Judged as a unit.
Okay, yeah, unless you could tie it that we're on the Gugulim, so maybe whatever, maybe not. Otherwise, Pashtus, it's kind of.
Well, that's a nistus Hashem Elokeinu, no?
What?
That's a tiny nistus Hashem Elokeinu for a Gilgul and that, no?
No, but you can tie it more like that. I don't know. Yeah, we'll be fine.
There's an interesting shaila like this. We read it like Ochin Kadam Timus, and you're going to die like Adam. You could read this in two ways. You could say that originally when Adam sinned from the Eitz Hadas, so that brought death into the world. Right? Originally Adam was supposed to live forever. He sinned by the Eitz Hadas, so he brought death to the world. Right? Now, when the Jews went at Har Sinai, the Gemara says, "Pasku Zuama," that dirtiness came away from them, and they came free from death. Right? When they sinned by the Egel Azav, what happened now? Achen Kadam to Musa. Now you're going to die like Adam. Does it mean like this? Does it mean this is like a lamdisha question? Does it mean that just like Adam did a sin and because of his sin, he brought death to the world. So too, you did a sin. You did the sin of the golden calf, and now you brought death to the world by the sin of the golden calf. Is that what it means?
No,
Or does it mean that just like Adam sinned from the Eitz Hadas and he brought death to the world, so too, when you sinned by the Egel Zahav, you're going back into the way people were beforehand, and you're going to be like a regular person from before Kabbalah Torah, that you're going to die because of the Chet of Adam Rishon.
But even so, like,
You hear the question first? I mean, the question is
is it going back to
is the reason why people die because of the Egel Zav nowadays, or is the reason why people die because since they did Egel Zav, now they're like all other people, and they die because of the Eitz Hadas?
What happened to the Goyim at the time when we got Matan Torah?
Right,
there were millions of Goyim.
They all died because of Eitz Hadas.
They all died because of Eitz Hadas.
Right. So the question is, did Jews because of the Egel, they became like Goyim, that everyone dies because of Eitz Hadas, or it's like a new thing? Now we die because of the Egel Zav, and they die because of the Eitz
It's
Hadas.
like you usually have no nafkamina to the question you were asking before by women in Levim, because
That's what
even
you
if you're
think.
going to say, even if you're going to say it can go back to originally, why should the original, the original Eitz Hadas be dispassionate on Levim and women? So. And if you're going to tell me it's a new thing, so I can also clear that maybe the new thing also goes to everybody in Klai. So why is it totally in Dafka?
No, you're right. I'm not going to use this to answer that question.
Right, okay.
But you're right. This is just a general question. How do we look at what happened over here by Matan Torah?
We're saying that when they were receiving the Torah,
Yeah,
they became immune
to death.
dying,
Right.
to death. So just sort of, that was a gezerah. You're getting the Torah, went to Eretz Yisrael.
Well, the women didn't get the credit. Wait a second, I got an
Back
answer.
to it.
There were 600,000 crowns that were brought down,
Yeah.
but that did not include the women and the Levites.
Right.
So they were like uncrowned. So they didn't gain anything and they didn't lose anything.
Why were they uncrowned?
First of all, it's possible to
Because he's saying we said 600,000. 600,000
not
only
counted.
includes Bnei Yisrael, the men between 20 and 16. It doesn't include the Levites. It doesn't include the women.
Question then. They didn't
So
say
no.
Nasev and Ishma?
No, I don't know, but he wants to say that when we're saying that they were free from death or whatever,
Yeah.
it's only talking about the men from 20 and 60 and not the Levium.
Yeah, so what about the people older
So
than
they never
20?
they never got that to lose it. It's an interesting thought over there. That's what it would sound like from the Medrash. She's right.
But
There is such a mashmos.
But the simple understanding would just be everybody. 600,000 somehow includes the Levim and the women. It just means all Klal Yisrael. No?
It says a number.
I would have
It's
said.
it's hard to argue with a number. You want to
It
say
never says
it
how
says
many Jews
600
there were, but it says there were 600,000 men.
right.
And of course, 600,000 doesn't literally mean 600,000. It means 603,550.
Right.
They just round to the biggest number. That's common. But it generally it means Am Yisrael. And even though it's not the Levim, obviously, because they're always counted separately, they're still part of Am Yisrael. So I don't know.
So you want to say that even though it doesn't, the mashmos, it's a good question. I hear what you're asking. I don't know what to say about it. Al Kolponim, so we have, it's an interesting shaila. Why do people die? Is it because of the ched of the Eitz Hadas, or is it because of the ched of the Egel Azov? Comes along the Ksav Sefer. The Ksav Sefer was the Chasam Sefer's son. So the Ksav Sefer in Parshas Eikev brings a raya that the reason why people die nowadays is because of the Eitz Hadas, not because of the Egel Azov. Why? Because the Torah in Hilchos Shabbos, the Torah brings down that one of the reasons why do we light Shabbos candles, Ner Shel Shabbos, why do we light Shabbos candles, Erev Shabbos? Why do women light Shabbos candles? It says because woman, meaning womankind, Chava, extinguished the light of the world, meaning she brought death to the world. Because she brought death to the world, so she has to bring light into Shabbos, so she lights the Shabbos candle.
Maybe it's for the Goyim, maybe it's death that she brought to the Goyim, and maybe Kaisel is.
So what does that have to do with us?
So it's our job to fix the Goyim also. So I mean, it's not a right. You're right. With Pashas, you're right. It's right.
This is what the Torah says. So Ksav Sefer wants to say, you have a raya from the Torah that the reason why people die, why we die nowadays is because of the Eitz Hadas, not because of the Egel Azov. Once I saw this Ksav Sefer, I decided that I have another Torah that's a better raya.
No.
The Balaturim in Parshas Emor talks about there's a prohibition that a male Kohen is not allowed to become ritually impure for a dead body. Not allowed to become Tamei Meis. Right? The halacha is, it says, Emor Kohanim b'nei Aaron. B'nei Aaron v'lei b'nei Aaron. Right? Only the male Kohanim have this prohibition, not the female Kohanim. So the question is, why don't female Kohanim have the prohibition of becoming Tamei Meis? Why only the male? Why we're being chauvinistic over here? What's the difference? So the Baal Turim Chumash over there says the reason is because women, they brought death into the world. So of course you can't tell them to stay away from Tumas Meis. They're the ones who bring Tumas Meis. That's what the Baal Turim says. So the Baal Turim is talking about Jewish people. He's not saying like Stam talking about because it brought death to Goyim. We're talking about nowadays you bring death to the world, so we can't expect you to stay away from Tumas Meis.
Nowadays bring death to the world?
No, because we're saying that you, Bnei Aaron, who bring death to the world because you're descendants of Chava, I guess. So you can't be expected to keep away from Tumas Meis.
Or you're saying it's behavior,
Right. It's a similar raya to what the Ksav Sefer wants to say. That nowadays death goes from the Eitz Das, not from the Egel Azov. Okay, if you hear that it goes from the Eitz Das, not from the Egel Azov, so you could say that like once Klal Yisrael sinned with the Egel Azov, so now everyone went back to being like the Goyim, like everyone else in the world, and then it would include the women and the Levim as well. Okay, Rabbi Greif might argue on that, but that's like the pashtus. That's what it would mean.
Can I say short, nice little word?
No, yeah, one nice little word.
Last little word. It's very nice because in this week's parsha, the Hashem prevented Adam from reading the Eitz HaChaim.
Yeah.
But over here, it seems like they were given the Eitz HaChaim, Mazeh, not Torah.
It's
and therefore they were to live forever. And then they did the
true.
Chet Egel, but the Eitz HaChaim was the Torah that was talked about.
In Mishlei we have a pasuk. Eitz Chaim hi l'machas zikim ba.
Yeah, but
it's talking about Torah.
More talking about Torah.
Yeah, I'm saying we see that here. The Torah is called Eitz Chaim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally
Eitz Chaim.
Ta'ina or Chita or.
We'll go a little bit weiter soon, but there's one more vart that I want to say over. That it could be we're making a whole mistake in how to look at this thing. We're assuming that when the Medrash says that they were loy mashal behem malach hamavis, that means that there was no death for them. The Jews didn't die; they were free from death. Right? There's a sefer who takes a slightly different approach. It's Rabbeinu B'chaya in Sefer Kada Kemach. Rabbeinu B'chaya says that before the Chet HaEgel, so Jews would only die misas neshika, which is the death of a kiss from Hashem. After the
what's the Chiddush by Miriam? It was after Matan Torah.
Who
else
and
said neshika?
Moshe and Aaron also. And after the Chet HaEgel, so then Klal Yisrael would die from the Malach HaMavis. That's the Chiddush. That before, of course, you always die. There's no such thing as immortality. Of course, you're always going to die. The question is, what type of death? Are you going to die a death of Mrs. Neshika, a kiss from Hashem, the kiss of death? Or are you going to die, that's a mafia term, or are you going to die from the Malach HaMavis? So when our Medrash says that they were free, it says, Loi Mashal Behem Malach HaMavis. By Matan Torah was Loi Mashal Behem Malach HaMavis. They're not going to have the Malach HaMavis anymore, and they'll die only from a kiss of Hashem.
Because of the Eitzadas, they have to die with.
Yeah, everyone has to die because of the Eitzadas. The question is, what type of death?
Not mischape ad the lost love.
Maybe. So then when they sinned by the Chet HaEgel, so then they got Malach HaMavis again. And then, so what's the nafkamina? So there's a sefer from the Klei Yakar. The Klei Yakar, Ephraim Lenchitz, he wrote a sefer Drush called Sifsei Das in Parshas Chukas, Maimer Reish Nun Dalet. The Klei Yakar in his sefer Sifsei Das, he writes like this: the difference between Misas Neshika and Misas Malach HaMavis is whether or not there's Tumas Meis. But Misas Neshika, there's no Tumas Meis. There's Rishonim that say such a thing. The Klei Yakar in his Drush sefer. But there's Rishonim that say by Misas Neshika, there's no Tumas Meis. The Ramban Chumash that sort of says this.
Anyone in halachic Rishonim, like in Paiskim, say such a thing, or just Josh?
It's not going to make a nafkamina in halacha.
Because we can't know.
because we can't know Pashtus. And also, I heard from Rabbi Elio Diskin that Shlita, he wanted to say a diuk, and the Ramban of Chumash who says this, that by Mises Neshika there's no Tumas Meis. He has there's a diuk in the Ramban. The Ramban says like min adin there's no Tumas Meis by Mises Neshika. So Rabbi Elio Diskin wanted to make a diuk that even if min adin there's no Tumas Meis by Mises Neshika, but like at least midrabanan there would be like plug, because we don't know who's Neshika or who's not Neshika. But it wouldn't make so. Whatever. The kids are. So that's what it says. The Koyakar says that if you die Mrs. Neshika, if one dies Mrs. Neshika.
Don't worry, there's a bracha.
If one dies Mrs. Neshika, so there's no Tumas Meis. If one dies with the Malach HaMavis, so then there is Tumas Meis. So what his vart is, he wants to say that the Chet of the Egel Zohav, that's what brought Tumas Meis to Klal Yisrael. That's what made it from Nisus Neshika to Mises Malach HaMavis. It brought Tumas Meis. And with this, he wants to say Pshat and Rashi in Parshas Chukas. It's a very interesting Rashi. Rashi brings in Parshas Chukas by Paraduma. He says, even though we know that Paraduma is a choik, it's a statute, we don't understand the reasoning behind it. He brings from Rav Moshe Darshan. Moshe Darshan says that Paraduma, I have a mashal about what Paraduma is like. He says it's like you have a baby. A baby comes and it soils the whole house and makes it dirty, whatever. So it makes your palace dirty. Right? It makes the king's palace dirty. So the king says to the baby's mother, "No, go clean it up. You're the one. Your baby made the mess, so you go clean it up." So too says Moshe Darshan. That's what Paraduma is. The baby, the Egel Zohav made a mess, right? Which we're interpreting as it brought Tumas Meis into the world. It made a mess in the world. It brings the mess, this Tumas Meis. So the mother, the calf, the calf's mother, the heifer, the red heifer, the Paraduma, should come and clean it up. And that's how the Paraduma gets rid of Tumas Meis. I mean, it doesn't really explain how exactly it works, but it's a mashal. It gives us a little bit of a better understanding of how it works.
So here's a question. How did the Goyim die, let's say, before Matan Torah?
Yeah, it's a das.
You know, that's the reason. But did they die...
Did they die Malach HaMavis or Neshika?
All right. And how about the 4/5 of the Jews who died in the plague of darkness? How did they die?
I don't know.
Is that Tumas Meis?
There's a question whether a guy has Tumas Meis or not.
And
Shimon, what?
And there were Jews who had Tumas Meis.
That what?
Before Pesach, hence Pesach Sheni.
Right.
Just to add to that.
Right, because they were carrying the bones of Yosef or something like that.
That was after the golden.
Yosef died before.
Or they were carrying the bones of Nadav and Avihu.
Yosef died before.
They dealt with Nadav and Avihu.
Yosef died before Matan Torah, and he had Neshika Lefi, so.
No, we're not saying everything before Matan Torah. We're saying between accepting the Torah and the Egel. Just in those 40 days, yeah.
Neshika.
Because there were certain people who passed away in that period, probably, I guess, yeah.
I mean, naturally, yeah.
Or you could be saying that if someone would have passed away, there
or
would
in
have been
theory,
away.
yeah, it could be. It's only theoretical.
Or you could be saying that,
definitely 40 days. But what about the Jews who died in Mitzrayim?
Yeah, you asked that. I don't know.
Well, they died because they said us, the stomach, huh?
They also died because they didn't want to go there. It's not clear.
But what, are you talking about Marcus Choshech or Bechlal?
Yeah, he's talking about the 4/5 that died. But Al Kapanu, if you want to say like this vart, basically it comes out from this vart that, of course, people are always going to be dying. The shaila is, what type of death is it going to be? Okay, whatever. I don't. You could say based on. I'll stop at that. Let's go weiter. Rabbi Yehuda says, "Kol zman she'adam levesh bigdei tifartei." As long as a person is wearing clothes of glory, hu yafa b'marehu uv'chvoidei uv'yikarei. He is beautiful in his sight and in his honor Kvoidei means honor, and yikarei means honor as well, because yakar in Aramaic is the same thing as kavod in Lashon HaKodesh. I don't know why the Medrash repeated kvoidei and yikarei. It could be the Radal is trying to answer this question, but I don't know how he exactly answers it. So just like a person who's wearing his clothes of glory, he looks very nice and he's very honorable. Kach hayu Yisrael, so too were the Jews. Kishayu loivshin oisei Hashem, as long as they were wearing that crown that had the shame of Hashem on it, the crown of glory, they were as good in front of Hashem as the ministering angels. Because they were wearing those fancy, nice clothing or whatever, they looked good. Right? In the eyes of Hashem, they were very important. Here it says again, Kim Malachi Yesharis. It doesn't say more than Malachi Yesharis. There's a pshat that Rabbi Yomi Israel wanted to say earlier when it said that they were Tovim mi Malachi Yesharis, they were better than Malachi Yesharis. He wanted to say no, mi Malachi Yesharis doesn't mean better than Tovim me, rather it means Tovim mi Malachi Yesharis, because of the Malachi Yesharis. Because the Malachi Yesharis gave them these crowns, that's why they were good in the eyes of Hashem. That's how he wants to read it. Hayu tovim lefnei Kadosh Baruch Hu mi Malachi Yesharis, from meaning on account of the Malachi Yesharis that gave them these crowns. So Rabbi Yomi Israel wants to read it. I wanted to read it. Maybe you could say based on something else. Rabbi Yomi Israel said in Parak Mem Hey Mem Vav. We said over there that the Malachi Yesharis complained to Moshe Rabbeinu. They said that why is Hashem giving? They complained to Hashem. They said why are you giving the Torah to the Jews? You should give the Torah to us. And the lashon that they said was that they said to Moshe Rabbeinu, "Lo nitna Torah ela l'manenu." That's the lashon. So Rabbi Yomi Israel over there said that Lo nitna Torah ela l'manenu means that Hashem is only giving the Torah to the Jews because of us. Because we ate basar b'chalav, where we spoke about over there, because the angels ate basar b'chalav when they came down to earth, so then they lost their chance to get the Torah, so therefore you get the Torah. So you could read it like this: because of the Malachi Yesharis that ate basar b'chalav, that's why the Jews ended up being tovim l'fnei Kadosh Baruch Hu. Me Malachi Yesharis, because of those Malachi Yesharis that ate basar b'chalav. All right, could be the shtickle Jewish. So what happens? Fine. So now they do the Cheder Egel. Kemun she'osu oisei ma'isa. Once they did that deed, the deed of the Cheder Egel, Kos Eleim HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem got angry at them. V'omer lahem, Hashem said to them, there's a pasuk, Hared edecha me'alecha, take your adornment from upon you, ve'edo ma'ez alach, and I will know what to do to you. What does that mean? That night, Yardu Malachi Yesharis, the ministering angels came down, Shishim Riboy, 600,000, Keneged Shishim Riboy Shel Gibar Yisrael, corresponding to the 600,000 strong men of the Jews, meaning the 600 men between 20 and 60. And each of those angels took the crown that it gave them. The Gemara in Shabbos actually says it was 120,000. 1,200,000 angels that came down and took the crowns. Because the Gemara understands that each angel can only take one crown. And the Gemara said that each person had two crowns. So you take 600,000 times 2 is 1,200,000 angels came down, and each one took a crown. So they...
maybe.
Yeah, what do you want to say?
The only thing I can think of is that each angel is called, their name is by the tafkid.
Yeah.
So each person giving, maybe the tafkid is giving a crown to Reuven, Chaim, Ben, whatever. So two angels had that same tafkid. So maybe they both had the same name. So in one way it's nechshav. They're called by 600,000 angels. And the other way they're called by double the amount because the different.
You only needed one angel to leave each. If you needed one angel for each crown to remove it, you didn't only needed one angel to each crown to give it.
Yeah, you're asking the question over here, but not over here when they
right, because the Gemara, if I'm not mistaken, when it says that they got the crowns, it doesn't say how many angels gave the crowns. But when it says how many angels took away the crowns, it says explicitly 1,200,000. Okay, it's a slight machlokes between the Pikei Eliezer and the Gemara. A slight machlokes over here. Okay, I mean, according to your answer, if that's true, part of the tafkid would be like take the Nasa crown or take the Nishma crown, no? Or that's already too detailed.
Maybe no, because just take the crown. We don't care which one you take. You take this one, the next one.
So it wasn't so organized.
No, take the crown because the job will get done. we make two angels, whatever you name it, take away, Chaim Yankel's crown. So we'll take one away, and then the next one will take the other one away. Unless it makes a difference for some reason, which one's taken away first. I don't know.
Yeah. The removal of this crowns, we're going to see weiter, is similar to what happens with Adam Rishon. But Chaim Falachi points out that it says Ba'isa Laila, that night. So he says, why does that happen specifically at night? Because it happens specifically at night so that like people won't realize that they lost these crowns. It won't cause extra suffering because they'll see that their crowns are being taken away because it's night. And he compares this to Adam Rishon, that his rib was taken away and Hashem created a Chava at night, so that he was sleeping, it was at night, so he wouldn't see it happening. He wouldn't have to go through that pain.
Adam Rishon was created with a middle of Friday, right?
Yeah.
Middle of Friday.
Yeah, that's a good question.
And he's chased out of Gan Eden before Shabbos.
Everything happened before Shabbos.
Because Friday night, I mean, what we call Leil Shishi, that's when the animals are created.
Right. You're asking a good
doing
question. You're saying, where was the night that happened? I don't know.
Adam was created, I think, later on Friday. I don't know where they're right.
There are midrashim that... What?
You made the list.
Wait, hold on a second. Where does it say that Adam was mamish created during Friday day? Was he not created during...
Back in Perkei Eliezer, Perkei Aleph.
So it couldn't...
And you
So,
have a sheet here?
could he have taken
No, I
a
don't
nap
have
on
that.
Shabbos? Maybe he was tired from Mishmar, Adam, no?
What?
He was tired from doing Mishmar Thursday night, so he took a nap.
Sleeping. Okay, he was at least sleeping. That the pasuk says he was sleeping.
Did Hashem do
Doesn't say it
any
was at night.
creation during the day?
Did Hashem do any creation during the day? That's a better question. Did he do it during the night?
I mean, during the night. That's what I meant. During the night. I mean, did he start creating, let's say, at 9 p.m.?
So like way back when, somewhere we discussed this in one of the earlier prakim, the creation was only during the day. All the days of creation was just during the day. So the 12 hours of night of each of those days, Hashem wasn't necessarily creating.
So that if you figure it's a 12-hour day, and each 1,000 years is a day,
Yeah.
then the year 5750 would either be 12 noon if it's a 24-hour day, or 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Didn't we speak about this like 3 weeks ago?
I don't remember.
We said something similar to
I
this.
don't remember.
We were talking about the year. You were there. The year 1991 would have been like the day.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think I was
1990
there.
was 5750.
1990, yeah.
Yeah.
Was the Shia Erev Sukkot?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's
missed
what it was.
that one, yeah, that's right. I don't know what I missed.
Yeah, no. We were talking about years specifically. I don't remember now. But yeah.
Al Kaporim, yeah. Let's go weiter. So, what happens? It comes out that they were naked, arumim, at least naked from those crowns, not according to their will. Shinemar says the pasuk, "Vayisnatzlu bnei Yisrael." Bnei Yisrael was stripped. That's how art schools translate. They were stripped. Vayinatzlu enksiv kan doesn't say they stripped, meaning they would strip themselves. Ela vayisnatzlu. They became stripped. Ba'al karcham, meaning somebody else stripped them forcibly, took away those crowns from them, and then they became stripped. Became, so to speak, naked from those crowns. Yeah, for the record, I made quotation marks when I said naked. Yeah, like the Radal wants to compare this to Adam Rishon. We said that before the Chet of the Eitz Hadas, in Perkei Daled, we said that Adam Rishon's kasnus or was some sort of nail-like clothing that Adam Rishon wore over his skin that protected his skin. And then when he sinned by the Eitz Hadas, so he lost that nail-like clothing, and just the nails by the fingers remained. I mean, people had something like this over their whole body, and then when they sinned, they lost it.
That's not the clothing that Esav inherited and all that.
No. So we spoke about this back then. That there's different mafresh. What does it mean, kasnus or? But Perkei Eliezer understands that it's this nail-like clothing. So the Radal says you can compare this to the chet of the Egla Zov. By Adam Rishon, they sinned and then they became, so to speak, naked from that nail-like clothing. And then Klal Yisrael, they sinned by the Egla Zov, and then they lost those crowns. They became naked of those crowns. And some say it wasn't that the angels came and took away the crowns. Rather, the crowns peeled off on their own. So Radal wants to say that here it sounds like the crowns were like stuck to their body somehow, whatever exactly that means. It became like a part of them, just like the customs or became a part of Adam Rishon, and then it like peeled off when they did the sin. As opposed to saying that angels came and took away the crowns, he's saying that it peeled off on its own. Fine. This was all the introduction to what we're learning about tonight. I love saying that. Right. Rebbe Omer. Rebbe says, Kol yeshiva sheyashvu yisrael b'midbar also lehem avodah zarah. Every time that the Torah says a lashon of yeshiva, of sitting, when the Jews were in the midbar, it's an expression of avodah zarah. And we'll see in a moment examples. But the idea is, because what does it mean to sit? When a person sits, the Radal sort of says this. When a person sits, you're like, okay, now I don't have to do anything. Now I'm done doing things. I can sit down. I can relax. Everything's going to be beseder. I don't have to work hard. I don't have to, try to do the best that I can in Torah, Ma'aseh Tovim, whatever. I can sit down. I can relax. Sit down. And then that brings...
It's not yeshiva referring to in Kol Nidui, yeshiva Shamali, yeshiva
No. Yeshiva means sitting down. We'll see. It means like dwelling.
No, it's not the same mashmas. I'm asking,
No.
Maybe it's yeshiva of Kedusha and yeshiva of Lumas.
No, that's a different idea. That's...
we're not getting into that.
No.
Diktuk of yeshiva.
In Parshas Vayeshev Yaakov be'eretz Mugurei Aviv be'eretz Canaan. Yaakov Avinu sat in the land of his forefathers, and then the story of Yosef happened. Rashi says, Vayeshev, that Bikshu tzadikim leishev b'shalva ba'olam hazeh. Tzadikim want to sit in peace and tranquility in this world, and Hashem brings all kinds of problems that makes life more complicated. Right? It makes life more complicated when you want to try to sit and relax. So the point is that you don't try to stop, sit and relax. That makes problems.
Mitzvah of yeshiva, it's also different mashmas.
Yeah, no, that yeshiv was spelled with two
The
yods.
yeshiva, place where you learn
Yeshiv. Yeah, whatever. It means something else. That means to settle it.
So it's Melachim Menucha V'Yashvus, no?
So
yeshiva, not necessarily, it could be a parva term over here, it means it's a bad term.
Yeah.
So it could be in Kedusha also, you have to have a level of Menucha. If a person, he has all kinds of thoughts and things are bothering him that he's not able to learn. That's what it says in the Gemara, no? V'chaim al-tzavari, no?
Yeah.
In Kedushin.
By getting married before
Well, back
you
then,
learn.
I guess not today. Nowadays, people learn Dafka after they get married.
Yesh v'yesh.
No, I'm giving examples.
Hello. Eretz Yisrael.
Well, I wasn't trying to get to the... I'm giving Mishalom.
Yeah.
The yeshiva could be a good or a bad thing.
Yeah. But there's a certain thing of yeshiva that like you want to just sit down and relax. And that's what the Medrash over here is criticizing.
It's like a person wants to live in
Now
LA.
yeshiva bar b'chachma, right? So obviously there's two things. But
Right,
that's
yeah.
what we're not here,
The pasuk says, "Shnei vayeshev ha'am lachal v'shasoi vayakum letzachek." Right before by the story of the Echet Egel, it says, "Vayeshev ha'am lachal v'shasoi." They sat down to eat and to drink. Vayakum letzachek, and they got up to make jokes, which Chazal tells us letzachek means gilui arayos, right? Immorality, whatever, sexual immorality.
And shvichas damim.
Yeah, and shvichas damim.
By the Zohar.
Maksiv acharov. What does it say? Right after it says Vayeshev ha'am lachal v'shasoi vayakum letzachek. Maksiv acharov. What does it say right after? It says in the pasuk, "Osu lahem egel masecha." They made for themselves an egel, a calf of masecha of molten metal. Right? So they did avodah zarah after it says Vayeshev. Similarly, because of Erev, another pasuk says when the Jews were in the desert, it says Vayeshev Yisrael b'Shittim. The Jews sat in Shittim. Umaksiv sham. What does it say over there when they got to Shittim? Vayachal am liznais abnais Moav. The nation began to stray towards the daughters of Moav. What does it mean they began to stray? Zoy avodah zarah. That's referring to avodah zarah. We'll have to see exactly what that means. That they strayed to the daughters of Moav, that means avodah zarah. But what's clear is that we have two instances where it says that they sat, the Jews in the desert sat, and in both times, right afterwards, came about the story of avodah zarah. And from here, the Medrash is going to start talking about the story of the Jews straying after the Bnei Moav and the Bnei Midian. Rabbi Yehuda says, he brings a pasuk. Atzas Rishoim Rochaka Meni. The advice of the wicked ones distanced from us something. Right? What is it talking about? Ba'atzasai shel Bilam sheyoatz leMidyan, with the advice of Bilam, who gave advice to Midian, naflu miYisrael, they fell from the Jews, Esrim v'arba Aleph. 24,000 people fell from the Jews. So it means something was distanced because of some sort of evil advice, is referring to Bilam giving an evil advice to Midian, which caused the deaths of 24,000 Jews. What's the story? Omar Lahem, Bilam said to the Midianites, he said to them, Ein atem yicholen lifnei ha'am hazeh. You are not able to withstand or defeat this nation. Ela im kein chotu lifnei barim, unless you can get them to sin in front of their Creator. So what do? It says the Medrash, Miyad asu chanuyos chutz l'machane Yisrael. Immediately, they made stores outside of the Jewish camp. And the Jewish men would see the Midianite daughters. Mechachales is like the word kachol in modern Hebrew, which means blue. They would make their eyes blue, meaning they would put these blue, what's it called? Eyelashes? Eyeshadow? Eyeliner?
Something like that.
What's eyeliner?
That's the black stuff.
That's the black stuff?
You mean
Makeup, blue makeup.
Eyeshadow.
Eyeshadow? So the Midianite women used to put blue eyeshadow on their eyes. Kazoinos, like women of ill repute. V'so acharehen, and the Jewish men strayed after those women. Shneimar, it's the pasuk v'yachal ha'am l'znos al b'nai Moav. The nation began to stray towards the daughters of Moab. So they came up with this whole, what's the word in English? Kumbina, right? They made this whole how do you say it in English? They made this whole contraption.
They made a trap for them.
They made an entrapment to entrap the Jewish men.
Like you want to get a mice, so you put some food inside.
Yeah, they made a trap to get these Jewish men to stray and end up doing bad things with these Midianite women, these Moabite women. Well, what's happening over here? We'll have to see in a moment. Because the pasuk says, "Liznais al b'nais Moav."
Doesn't say Midian.
Right, it doesn't say Midian. Our Medrash said that Bilam said this to the people of Midian.
It could be he told them to tell
and then it says that the B'nais Midian made their eyes look nice. And then it brings a pasuk that says Vayachal Am was nice on B'nais Moav. But we just said that it was B'nais Midian. And we just jumped to B'nais Moav. And then later on in the next parsha, in Parshas Pinchas, when Hashem wants to take revenge, so he says Nikoim nikmas b'nei Yisrael me'es hamidyanim, right? Because they were b'nichlehem asher niklu lechem al davar pa'ar v'al davar kol zvi bastum, whatever, right?
Maybe that they teamed up.
Oh, they teamed up. So one pasuk was talking dafka about Moav, and one's talking about dafka about Midian, and they switched. What happened?
It could be that the B'nai Midian went to Moab because it's a closer base to the camp of Yisrael. There they set up the workshops and they give the passionate speeches, the loudspeakers, and they go around the town, villaging, saying that everyone does it. It's gonna go straight.
It's gonna get 70 white grapes.
Then afterwards, then they went to the and set up the camps.
Grapes? Why white?
The Moab.
It's a long story.
All the Shiach HaMoav gave a long speech that everyone's gonna take. Is gonna make the Yehuda thing is gonna get a special Gan Eden.
Right.
And join them to Father.
So the Bible says the Barbanel in I don't remember if it's in Parshas Balak or in Pinchas or whatever, maybe it's in both. The Barbanel wants to say that really we're only talking about B'nai Midian. Really it was only Midianite women. Why is the puzzle in Moav? Because Moav was considered higher class. So the Midianite women dressed up and they pretended to be Moabite women. So when the Jews were being Mizana with them, they thought they were being Mizana with Moabites, but they were really being Mizana with Midianites.
How does Rashi answer? I don't remember.
Think about that.
Who says this?
Who says this?
Yeah.
The Barbanel.
This
is from memory. Could be he doesn't say it exactly the way I just said it, but
yeah, because Moab was Bnei Lot, whereas Midian they're half Bnei Ketur, which was just Hagar, which is Bnei Cham, which is from Mitzrayim.
Yeah, it's the shadow of Midianites were black or not. Were the people?
Why would they be black for?
What?
Why would they be black?
I don't know.
Hold on,
It was
Midian from
what?
From Ham?
What's his name? Yisrael L'chai was from Midian, right?
No, he was from
lived in
Mitzrayim.
Mid-
He lived there,
he
but
lived
he
in
was a Mitzri,
Midian.
though. The Gemara
He was a
says.
Mitzri, and Tzipora thought that Moshe Rabbeinu was a Mitzri because what?
Because he was dressed like a Mitzri, he spoke the language, maybe.
But was he black or he wasn't black?
Moshe could be his very tan skin. You know, like
But Mitzrim were black, because Rashi in Parshas Lech Lecha says the Mitzrim were black. But Moshe Rabbeinu was black or white?
no, it could be he was very
Huh?
tanned.
Jewish.
It could be he was like
No, but what made Tzipora think that it was an Egyptian man that saved her?
Right, the clothes.
What I'm saying, it could be he was like
The
a
clothes,
Timonim.
even though his skin was a different color.
No, it could be as close to black, like you know the Timonim, the very very dark.
Yeah.
Could be Moshe was
Some
very
of
very
them.
dark skin, very suntanned. You know, like
You're saying it wasn't mamish black, but it was like something
and
different.
amongst the Mitzrim, it could be some of them were more
I
like
forgot why
tan
we were
instead
talking
of
about
black.
this, but I forgot why we got
Whereas
it.
the Benoist Midian, what color were them? I'm saying that it could be that they also came from Avram and from Keturah, right? So like you know, like when you have a mixed marriage, so they look like both. It could be some of them are white, some were dark, some were.
Yeah, I heard.
It could be they're like a mixed color, and you know, Moav were also Semites. You know, they lived in a pretty hot land. You know, Moav had a lot of sun,
Right.
so it's possible that they look similar to each other.
Midian was from Ham?
Who?
Midian is from Ham? Who's Midian from Ham?
Midian, he said, is from Avram Avinu and Keturah.
Keturah is
Which
Hagar.
according to the Medrash, so there's a Medrash that says the Keturah is
Is that
Hagar.
one Midian's not one of Shimon? Amim is not mentioned first nach?
No, it's after. It comes from Avram Avinu.
So why? Anyway,
Because Hagar was a Mitzvah.
which is from Ham.
Which is
Yeah.
Cham, yeah.
So you're saying they can get the black from that. Okay.
But Avram Avinu was white, obviously. So it could be that they came out
Obviously,
like
yeah.
in the middle.
Obviously. Why obviously?
So Midian's like Obama.
You're being recorded, by the way.
I know.
Anyways, the Gemara in Sanhedrin in Daf Kuvav, the Gemara says, yeah. What was your name? Should I say what city you're from?
My ID number is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah,
I come from Little Lake City.
Little Lake City.
From
Is that in Utah?
It's at Northwich, New York.
Lake Glass.
4 hours from Rochester.
Yeah.
You get there by ship or by plane.
Al Kaplan, the Gemara in Sanhedrin Daf Kuvav paints the story a little bit more detail over here. Basically, what they would do is the Midianite women would be selling what's it called? They would be selling linen garments. Actually, there's a midrashim that say that they were selling spices, fragrances, but they were selling goods, right? And what they would do is they would have an old lady selling them outside the store. And then they would have a nicely dressed younger lady inside the store. So you go to you'd walk past and you'd say, oh, there's an old lady there. She's selling goods or whatever. So I'll speak to her, right? You start speaking to her, and she tells you a price. She tells you, she'll tell you cost price or something, right? And then, okay, so that's how much it costs. Then you hear a young lady from inside the store saying, no, I'll give you a better deal. I'll sell it to you for cheaper. So of course you go inside the store and you deal with the younger lady because every good Jew wants to get a good deal, right? That's just the way it works.
Well, here's a Shimoni, not a Yehudi.
1 second.
Do they have
So you
the
go
same
inside,
rules?
right? And then so the Gemara says that after 2-3 days you become more familiar with the lady inside over there, whatever. And then she says, oh, you're Ben Bayit, so why don't you come in? We'll schmooze, we'll have a drink, right? And then she brings them what he says is Ammonite wine, what the Gemara says is Yain Ammoni, pictures of Ammonite wine, which apparently Ammonite wines were a known aphrodisiac in the ancient world, right? You know what an aphrodisiac is?
Never heard that word.
Aphrodisiac comes from the Greek goddess of love, Aphrodite. Aphrodite? I pronounce Aphrodite.
Venus.
That's the Roman goddess.
Yeah, same one.
Ashtoreth in Canaanite pantheon, and in the Babylonian pantheon, her name was Ishtar.
So it's the same one.
Yeah, just different names. But most of it is like that.
So Shem, Chum, and Yofis all served that. Because you
Much.
mentioned nations from Shem, from Chum, and from Yofis.
Yeah.
You mentioned white, black, and yellow nations.
Is she related to the Chavri Shaina? Is she related to Chavri Shaina like that?
We don't talk about her. Who, Lily?
Whatever. Yeah. Is this related or no? Or Heinrach?
It could be it's based on the mythology of her. I don't know. The idea is like this. So the Ammonite wine, which is an aphrodisiac that makes men have a lot of taiva. So these young women would serve the Ammonite wine, right?
They didn't know that it was that kind of wine, I guess.
And because we know that this is before there was the isser to drink goyish wine, right? So you're allowed to drink goyish wine. So we're going to see later on this parak about drinking goyish wine. So they would drink the goyish wine, and then their taivas would get a hold of them, right? And then they would proposition these young Midianite women, and then the lady would say to him, "Well, if you want me to listen to you, you have to." She would pull out her little pa'or god from her pocket. Say, all you have to do is bow down to this little pa'or god. And the Gemara says that the Jew would respond, "What do you mean? I'm a Jew. How could I bow down to an avodah zarah?" So she says, "Don't worry. You don't have to do like a real avodah zarah, like bow down or offer a sacrifice. No, that's not what you have to do. All you have to do is reveal yourself." Right? That's the avodah zarah bal pa'ar, is where a person just has to reveal themselves. Relieve, reveal, whatever.
They go to the bathroom on it.
Yeah, go to the bathroom on it.
Number 2.
So then he would end up doing it.
Oh, like the news of the avodah zarah is a mitzvah.
Wait a minute.
Going to them.
Yeah.
So why is that related to the Velaz? Like, what's the pshat?
No, because that's the way of worshiping it. Yeah.
Well, how's this not onus? How is this avera and not onus if they drank this wine?
Well, they shouldn't have gone to the
First of all, they shouldn't have drank the wine.
So
The shaila,
yeah, right.
the shaila is
Don't
how
go back
drunk.
to the shop.
The shaila is how drunk. The shaila is how drunk are you? That's the shaila. You're right. In general, the halacha is
A couple
that if a
shots
person
and
does something out of drunkenness, it's considered an onus. You're right. That's the halacha. It's considered an onus. Only if the Kasav Mishnah in Hilchos Yibum, I think it is, says that it's only considered onus if you were magia l'shichus shaloit, which is like mamish, really, really, what's the expression? Very drunk, right?
Adil Yada? Or was that before that or after that?
Adil Yoda. There's a Ramah. The Ramah has a sefer. The Ramah has a sefer on Megillas Esther called Mechir Yayin. The Ramah in the sefer Mechir Yayin says, what's the idea that you're supposed to drink on Purim Adil Yoda? Because if you drink Adil Yoda, you become so drunk that anything you do, you're going to be potter from. So he says, like, we know that because when people get drunk and they get happy, whatever, they end up doing things that they're not supposed to do, like damages and maybe averas or whatever. So the Ramah says that Chazal instituted that you should get so drunk that you wouldn't be held responsible for what you do. That's what the Ramah says. It's a very problematic Ramah because there's a whole question about this in the Gemara in Pnei Yeshua B'Sachas Ksubis towards the beginning. What's the halacha if I put myself into a situation where I become an onus?
Like alcohol being a good example of that.
Yeah,
You drank.
I drink it
Now you're
now
an
that
onus.
I'm completely drunk, but I don't know what I'm doing. I don't have my inhibitions. I can't control myself. But I, of my own volition, went and drank it. So is that called a onus or not? So the Ramah in Mechir Yayin seems to be saying that is called a onus. But in other places, it sounds like that you can't put yourself into a situation of onus.
So the Gemara in Brachos, Rabban Gamliel's sons.
I actually asked this to Nathan Tzvi Finkel once on Purim.
And what did you say?
What?
What did you say?
He just smiled. He didn't answer the question. Maybe he was drunk. I don't know. No, I don't think so. But
Oh, but why is it an onus? You should know not to get drunk. It's an issue to get drunk. No?
is it an isser to get drunk?
I think it is, no?
Which isser? What isser is it?
I don't know. I remember seeing such a thing. There's a problem with getting drunk.
I don't know. I don't know.
Before tefillah.
The Gemara
Yeah,
says
the Chal is a problem.
drinking.
Perhaps.
People
I know
drink.
before
So is it
tefillah.
God is Baruch Sinai. No, it's one of the.
Let's say if there's no issues, but there's a problem. If you know you get drunk and you might come to do certain things, then that's
Yeah, I don't know. Well, again,
And I can ask another question. Why did they go into the tent if they see that there's a young Goyish lady there? Why are they going to get to the tent for?
No, that's what I said, because they're getting a better deal.
Oh, but they should know that it's better to watch over yourself
That's
to get a
the
better
better.
deal, no?
Well, that's
gonna-
there.
Are you gonna go to the to
That's
Torah?
honest because it's money. So whatever.
It's a Jewish neshama. Yeah, honest.
You're gonna go to some crazy neighborhood in order to get a better deal.
A lot of people go to the Arab neighborhoods right now, and it's dangerous to get a better deal.
No,
Yeah.
Arab neighbor is something else. That I believe you should go there because it belongs to us. It doesn't belong to them.
Yeah,
To
but
get,
it's
no, to
dangerous.
go to Makola.
It should be dangerous for them, not for us.
It should be, but it isn't.
The
Well,
guys
so
in my
we have
car,
to
the
show them
Arabs
that
in
it
my
is.
car, they asked me,
It's up to
come
us.
home with us. And
No, I don't believe
and
that
have
Arabic.
Suda.
I believe absolutely we have to adopt to come to these neighborhoods.
I don't know what they
No,
wanted me to do
that's
after
only
that,
one
but
thing,
that's-
though.
They were trying to get me to go home with them.
Unfortunately,
Crazy.
Dangerous.
it's dangerous.
Well, it won't be dangerous if there'll be enough Jews
One
coming.
second,
It
I
won't be
wanted to make
dangerous
another
anymore.
point. What was
It's
I
dangerous
saying?
Because most people are, making it like.
If you're, are you anus? I don't remember. But the point is, I lost my train of thought. What were we talking about?
We're talking about if they started getting drinking and they knew what could come
Oh,
out
so
of
why are they held responsible? Because they initiated with the. That's first of all. The second of all, I mean, okay, well let's leave it at
Most
that.
of the Shvatim knew not to go near these tents, right? Besides for Shimon, they knew, okay, we don't go there because we might get into trouble. We're not going to go into that shuk, right?
Yeah,
So the fact that they went there, the other Shvatim knew to stay away from there, they already shows something, no?
I hear.
It means that they knew there's something not good over there.
Yeah, but okay, whatever.
Davka from Shimon.
The point why I'm bringing that Gemara basically is because you see that there's the old lady who's going to sell them outside for a cost price, and then there was the younger lady inside the store who's going to sell it to them for cheaper.
See, you told them
Right.
I'd rather get for the high price by an old lady than Chas
So the Radal says that it could be that the old lady outside was from Moav, and the young lady in the inside, she was from Midian. So the pasuk says, "Vayachal Yisrael liznois al b'nai vayachal am liznois al b'nai Moav." They began to stray to the daughters of Moav. But who did they actually stray with on the inside? In the inside of the store with the young lady, that was the b'nai Midian. That's what the Radal wants to say. Or the other pshat he wants to say is that first they started off with B'nai Moav, and then it got so out of hand that they were even doing it with B'nai Midian. Like if you say, like we said before, like B'nai Moav, like higher class, B'nai Midian the lower class. It's like first they started off with the higher class ladies, and then they went to even the lower class. It just like when it got out of hand.
Cosby was Midian?
What?
Cosby.
Cosby.
Bill Cosby?
Cosby is black. Obviously, Cosby is Cosby.
Well, when did they release?
Cosby is, she's Midian?
Midian, yeah.
Yeah, it says specifically.
It says in the pasuk.
Cosby is black. So there you go.
No, I believe me, the other weren't white, they weren't black, they're in between, they're like Arabs, like dark skinned maybe.
Bill Cosby's not a Arab.
I don't see why the color of the skin matters. Whatever, it doesn't matter so
Why
much.
did they stray after them otherwise? Obviously that they wouldn't, they had to be like of a lighter color than if they strayed after them. I would say they're like Arabs. Like,
Why?
Like tan color.
I don't know.
It's obvious, I don't have to explain.
Okay, that's your personal taste. That's not
Rashi-
necessarily everyone has the
I
same
don't
personal
understand
Oh,
taste.
you
Rashi-
met anyone not like that?
But
I'm saying
Rashi
people
says
have
on
different tastes. I
Tzipporah
don't know.
No, Rashi says on Tzipporah,
Beauty is in the
she
eye
was
of the
black.
beholder, as they
Nope.
say.
And that she was that's very beautiful. And I'm not sure if Rashi
It means
meant...
Amidas maybe.
No, it meant...
Physically?
No, she was Kushi. Rashi says, not on Tzipporah, on somebody else. Kushi.
Tzipporah.
Was Tzipporah?
Yeah.
Someone was a Kushi, and
No.
she was black. And that's beautiful. And Kushi women are beautiful. But I'm not sure if Rashi is saying it in they're ugly, and he means beautiful to use it in a good word, or did you mean that black women are beautiful?
Well, she is the daughter of Yisro, so obviously she was...
I see. I
You see what
hear.
I'm saying? It's in Chumash. It's but Rashi in Chumash, they're black is beautiful, whatever.
No, it could be it's a douche, because you have the Rashi in Lech Lecha, which says the fornicates. You could say that it means that Kushis is literally, that was her skin color. Now Rashi says that
What time is it?
She had very good midas, maybe.
Bishop, what time is it? 20?
9:20.
9:20? What time do we start? 8?
8:15.
8:15 we started?
Approximately. We got here at 8:07 or 8:08.
Okay, let's do a few more lines. We'll stop over here. It's getting a shtickle late. Shimon v'Levi kinu al Zima. Previously in history, Shimon and Levi, the sons of Yaakov Avinu, kinu al Zima. They were kanoim. They were zealous over the case of zima, over promiscuity. Shenemar, it says, "Can you make our sister into like a prostitute?" They made a macha. They protested the fact that Shechem raped their sister Dinah. The Hanasi shall shevet Shimon. Yet over here in the story of Bnei Moav and Bnei Midian, the prince of the tribe of Shimon, lo yizochar me'asa masha asa zekena. He didn't remember what his grandfather, what his ancestor had done. That Shimon and Levi wiped out the whole city of Shechem because Shechem raped Dinah. And over here, the prince of the Shevet Shimon Doesn't remember that his ancestor was such a kanoi against znus. V'lo gar b'bachurei Yisrael. He didn't scream at the Jewish bachelors who were sinning. Not only that, Elohu v'asmai b'farhesia ba biznus al Midianis. Rather, not only did he not protest other people sinning, but he himself went in public and had illicit relations with a Midianite woman. Shnemar, it says in the pasuk, v'shem ish Yisrael hamuke asher hukas Midianis Zimri ben Salu nesibes av lashimoni. The man who was smitten through the Midianite woman, his name was Zimri ben Salu from the tribe of Shimon, from nesibes av lashimoni.
But if he didn't bow down to the idol, what was his violation? Snus?
Well, let's say like this. First of all, who said he didn't bow down to the idol? First, right now we're criticizing him for not holding himself back in terms of znus. And we said before in the Gemara that it said like that the woman would only agree to do it if you did the avodah zarah as well. So it could be the assumed criticism, the underlying criticism is both. It's not clear exactly which way it meant.
I believe personally, I saw somewhere that Zimri was nichshol 2 times.
2 times in what?
The first time he was nichshol, he went together with other people of Shimon to the tents, where they're selling the stuff, and he was nichshol over there about with the lady inside the tent.
And then he went back and did it again
and
himself.
Then what happened was Moshe summoned the Nasim to make a bezdin. Of every shevet besides for Zimri, he didn't invite him because he already was nichshol, right? He wanted to judge him. And then Zimri a second time was nichshol. This time just with the roiz. So
I think I remember the Sefer Tzrar Hamor, I think, from Sabbath.
I saw them Shium al-Gattas, that Sefer Shium al-Gattas, and it's a big form.
Well, basically, I think we're gonna stop over here, sort of. But the point is that the pasuk says Zimri ben Salu nesibes av l'shimoni. Now our Medrash says that he was the nasi of Shevet Shimon. He was the prince of Shevet Shimon. If you look in the psukim, the pasuk doesn't say he was the prince of the tribe of Shimon. It says Nasi Beis Av Lashimoni. He was the Nasi, the prince of the Beis Av of a family. Beis Av means a family of Shimon. So he wasn't it sounds like from the pasuk, he wasn't the prince of the entire Shevet Shimon. He was the prince, or he was the head of a family in Shevet Shimon. That's what it sounds like from the Medrash, from the pasuk. Now, our Medrash says explicitly he was the Nasi of Shimon. He was the Nasi of the whole Shevet. So how do we understand that? So there's 2 approaches. The first approach is the Marzu. The Marzu says, he brings another Medrash. The Medrash says that Zimri ben Salu is the same person as Shlomuel ben Tzri Shaddai, who was the Nasi by the inauguration of the Beis Hamikdash of Shimon, and he's also known as Shaul ben Aknanis, which is one of the sons of Shimon. Shimon had sons Yemuel or Nemuel, Yamin, Ohad, Yachin, Tzayhar, and Shaul ben Aknanis. So the 6 sons of Shimon. Right? So one of the names of Shaul ben Aknanis was Zimri ben Salu. So Zimri was not just an important figure in Shevet Shimon. He was actually the son of the grandfather Shimon himself. So based on that, the Marzu wants to say that if we say that Zimri ben Salu was a son of Shimon himself, he is the Beis Av of Shimon. He is the patriarch of a family of Shimon. And he was also the Nasi of Shimon. So it's like 2 things. Nasi and Beis Av l'Shimoni. He was the patriarch of a family, and he was the Nasi of the tribe in general. That's what the Marzu says. I find it a shtickle problematic, because the Medrash said that Shimon and Levi had kanos. They were zealous over this znus with their sister got raped, right? And this guy, the Nasi of Shevet Shimon, he didn't remember lo zochar masha asa. What's the next word?
Shimon.
No. What's next? Lo zochar masha asa zikenai. He didn't remember what his zikenai did. What does zikenai mean?
Like great-grandfather?
Zikenai means at least grandfather, if not an earlier descendant. So it's hard to say that we're talking about a son of Shimon.
Also from the Malbim, it's
hard to say that Pirkei Eliezer would tell you that we're talking about a son of Shimon if it says the word zikenai. Should have said lo zochar masha asa aviv.
It's much more from the Malbim in Divrei Hayom. When he speaks about the sons of Shimon and the grandsons and the great, then he says, he skips out a few generations, then he says Shalom Banai. It says Shalom, that's Nasi Shimon Shulmi and Shadi. Just he skipped the generations, he only has to put out the important guys, whoever was a Nasi. Sounds like he's a few lines down.
Cool.
On the other end, I saw another guy that he says that Taka was the son of Shimon, and he got the bad midas from Shechem because, Shechem had a relation with Dinah. And he gave birth to Osnas, right?
Right.
Afterwards, it says Shimon married her.
Married her.
And she gave birth to Shulmil. But even though it wasn't from Shechem, right? It was actually his son, right?
So it's like some sort of like STD or something.
No, it's like the Zuma Sanachos.
The Zuma.
Yeah, it went in.
It went into Dinah, a certain bad
like an
genetic.
STD.
It went into her, and so that came out in the son.
But some medrash says that Dina had a daughter, and Dina's daughter was Asna.
Yeah, it's not a contradiction. I didn't say it comes from Shechem. It comes from Shimon.
Sexually transmitted media.
It's not a contradiction. It could
Right.
be that she had a son from Shechem, and then from Shimon she had a different son.
Sensuousness is a
But nevertheless, because she had a relation with her, within her, it got mixed in with her DNA.
How could Shimon marry? I always wondered how could Shimon marry Dina when, as far as 7 Noach had laws, brother and sister couldn't get married.
Oh, so we spoke about this way back when we spoke about Osnas. One of the answers given is based on the Targum Yonasan that says that originally Rachel was pregnant with a daughter.
Oh yeah, they switched.
And they switched, right?
How does it answer it?
What?
How does that
So
answer
you could say that your relatives are determined by who you were conceived not who you were born from.
You mean that's more important?
Which has implications for the halachic status of surrogate motherhood and stuff like that.
When she really chooses from Rachel.
We spoke about that back then.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Al Kapanim, so the Radal says a different approach. What does it mean? Nisi Beis Av L'Shimoni. It says that the Medrash here, it means Beis Av means Nisi Beis Av L'Shimoni. The Medrash is darshaning it as if it said Nishi Beis Av L'Shimoni. Nishi or Nashi in Aramaic means forget. So Nashi Beis Av, the one who forgot Beis Av L'Shimoni, the house of his father, the Shimonite. That's what it means. Zimri ben Salu, who forgot Nashi, what his father or his ancestor Shimon did. That's what it means. He forgot what his father, because we said that Lo Zochar Masha Asas again. Lo Zochar. So the word Nashi Beis Av L'Shimon. That's how the Radal wants to darshan it. There's a lot of things I wanted to discuss, but it's getting late, so I think we're going to stop over here.
Oh, because I disturbed you a lot, that's why.
No, it's because of Moshe.
Yeah. Who to blame now? Like Beit Hadas, everyone blames the other person.